Marvel Spider-Man 2 came swinging onto the PS5 on October 20th, and I feel it had some pressure to succeed. 2018's Marvel Spider-Man was released on the PS4 but eventually released as a remaster on the PS5 and sold 33 million copies of May 2022. I'm sure that number will be even higher by now and was followed by Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales in November of 2020, released on the PS4 and the PS5. In July 2020, it was reported that Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales sold 6.5 million copies, but was also considered a small game and not a full release in the series. Insomniac Games was poised to release another blockbuster in the series and hopefully solidify itself as the maker of the best superhero game series ever, taking over the mantle from Batman's Arkham. A lot can be said about sequels of games because it's hard to make them feel different sometimes, especially in combat, character design, and world building. I can safely say that Insomniac Games pulled this off and then some. At the end of the review, I hope to answer, is this the greatest superhero game of all time?
Light the fires.
I have finished Marvel Spider-Man 2 and platinumed the game. It's a reasonably easy platinum, but it's fun to get. One of my favorite parts of playing through this is sharing the platinum with my daughter, who played most of the game with me using the second controller feature on the PS5. She would follow along with the story and was my traversal from mission to mission in the game. She would try and handle some of the combat, but ultimately I'd have to take over. It was seamless using the second controller function of the PS5. There was even one mission, which I'll talk about later in this review, that made her very sad, and I feel she saw how powerful video games truly can be. As this game crept closer to the final act, I had to decide whether she could handle these dark themes. So I felt it wasn't appropriate for her, so I had to wait till the very end of the game. Then I let her back into the world so she can swing around New York all over again. In this review, I will give a brief synopsis of the story, but will stay spoiler-free, talking about the combat, the world building, and the pace of the game, the changes from the previous version, and my overall thoughts. If you'd like what you've heard so far, please leave me a like and subscribe. Greatly appreciate. I will omit to talk about anything from the final act, which would include any powers or skills you receive in the game after that point, as I feel it would spoil the fun for everyone. Insomniac Games told an amazing story, and I wouldn't want to ruin that for anyone who hasn't played the game. I will speak to the villains revealed in the various game trailers and side characters we met along the way. I played Marvel Spider-Man 2 on Performance Mode, which uses upscaling to 4K but targets 60 frames per second. I did, though, turn on VIR to smooth and set to 120Hz display to auto. The TV I played on supported this, so I used it. There is also a fidelity mode, which is 4K, 30 frames per second, but for me, when the game has fast pace like Marvel's Spider-Man 2, I need the most frames per second I can get. When playing Marvel Spider-Man 2, I suggest turning off the fall damage and using the shortcut feature to the settings to add photo mode to the D-pad. Photo mode was super addictive, and I used it the most I've used it in any game besides Ghost of Tsushima. One of the most significant changes to photo mode in this version of Spider-Man is the character poses that they've added, which I've seen before in Horizon Forbidden West, allowing you to change the character's poses from a list of presents that's in the settings. You could almost do a review just on the changes and the photo mode itself, but in this review, I want you to know the photo mode is amazing and it's very in-depth, and just use it. You never know, you might become the next prominent digital photographer and give Peter Parker a run for his money. In Marvel Spider-Man 2, Miles and Peter become a team of Spider-Men, saving New York from the evil villains in the city. It takes place 10 months after the conclusion of Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, showing how much closer Peter and Miles have become. Both Peter and Miles are still trying to find their place in this world, as Peter has been reunited with his friend Harry Osborn, and Miles is trying to finish school, deal with the loss, and figure out what to do in the future. Peter is still coping with his loss, picking up the pieces from 2018's Marvel Spider-Man and figuring out next steps for him and MJ. Miles is coming to grips with juggling school and being a superhero. Harry has a life-debilitating disease that they actually never tell us, but the relationship between Peter and Harry will be one of the game's primary plots. Then, here comes Kraven, a focal point of the trailers and the game's plot. Kraven will add to the dark themes of Marvel Spider-Man 2 and truly steal scenes that he's in. Kraven comes to New York because he's looking for a challenge, because nothing satisfies his thirst. As we see in the trailers, he marks all the villains in New York and hunts them one by one, which will make Peter and Miles have to save those same villains they usually fight. The struggle you watched Peter go through and how it affects everyone around him when he is the symbiote suit adds more layers to the story and brings Peter's character to a dark place. The actor who plays Peter, which is Yuri Lowenthal, did a phenomenal job, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets nominations or even an award at the Game Awards. The team at Insomniac does a great job of fleshing out Kraven's backstory and motivations, but I will keep that for you to play the game to learn. During the final act, we finally meet Venom. Venom is a powerful and dark character who will be the ultimate foe for a fantastic story told by the team at Insomniac Games. I have to say this is one of the best portrayals I've ever seen of Venom in a video game. You're dropped right into action right after the start screen and face off with the Sandman we saw in the game's launch trailer. This will serve as a refresher for the combat systems and become an epic jumping off point for the game. The boss fights show a new bond between Peter and Miles, and the teamwork you must do throughout the game. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 does suffer from combat amnesia, so not all the skills that you learned in previous games carry over. I could be nitpicking here, but it always bothers me when games do this. The battle is epic, but serves as an excellent refresh for all the combat systems and a precursor to more epic battles you face later in the game. Honestly, the boss fights are unreal. You learn new skills during the battle, like the spider arm abilities and a parry system, which is handy during the combat. Miles has his Venom abilities, and you do learn more as the game progresses, but I don't want to give any away. The combat feels fluid, and the DualSense functionality adds to the immersion, letting you feel every web swing and parry. With the parry system, the combat feels more refined and fresh. You have much to upgrade in Marvel's Spider-Man 2 for Miles and Peter, and actually you can upgrade both characters at the same time. You get a character tree for Miles, you get one for Peter, and you get one for both of them. They allow you to upgrade abilities, gadgets, and skills, which makes the upgrade system feel more rewarding. Upgrading Miles and Peter's punch to hit harder helps enemies feel less spongy as the game progresses, so I would suggest upgrading that first. The web line they brought into the game makes being stealthy and clearing out enemies a breeze and fun. You can clear out hunter dens by using the web line and other gadgets in your arsenal once they've fully upgraded your Spider-Man. Clearing out a room and seeing all these enemies hanging is honestly very satisfying. They have perfected the Arkham-style combat system and added other elements that I didn't know I needed. By completing side missions, you earn rewards that you can use to upgrade your Spider-Man. I will go more in depth into the side missions later on in the review. The traversal has been changed, and for the better, adding the use of web wings, which quickly help you navigate the larger map of New York. The web wings are a feature I didn't know I needed in a Spider-Man game. And don't take anything away from the web swinging that you do. You will quickly learn how to use both the web wings and your swing to move swiftly from one side of the map to the other. You will see gusts throughout the city that can lift Spider-Man or Miles higher into the air, or even give you a fast tunnel that you can whip through the entire city. You can instantly drop anywhere on the map once you unlock fast travel by completing tasks in that borough. The fast travel is nothing like I've ever seen in a video game before, and Insomniac promises that it's not hiding loading screens. You need to experience for yourself, but it's incredible. One type of combat that has returned is the Mary Jane missions, but this time she isn't defenseless. These missions do add to the story this time around, and for me, not something to complain about for this game. I enjoyed the stealth aspect of them, and it was nice to have a stun gun. Being able to use the symbiote Spider-Man added more dimension to the combat, as this version of Spider-Man is very powerful and packs some attitude. The powers that come with the suit add force to the character, and you feel unstoppable. The map of New York has added Brooklyn, Queens, and Coney Island, and the city feels alive. NPCs are having random conversations, and you can even run into your fellow Spider-Man as you traverse the city as either Peter or Miles. They have a ton of iconic New York City landmarks and landmarks from the Marvel world, including Avengers Tower, the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the Raft. Some new ones that weren't in the previous games are there, but I'll let you find out on your own. The attention to detail and draw distance is unmatched by any previous Spider-Man game. Make sure to look out for familiar faces in the city and some familiar felines, and you can even run into anyone as you traverse New York City. The detail you see at Coney Island shouldn't be missed, and keep an eye out for Easter eggs there because there is plenty to see. The side missions shine and don't feel like filler at all. There are some for Miles and some for Peter, and switching between the two Spider-Men is seamless. A simple swipe on the touchpad and then you press square, and you're dropped into wherever that Spider-Man is in mid-swing. The side missions throughout New York City are all relevant to the story. Some can't be completed unless you progressed in the main story further. The side missions even bring back characters from previous games. One in particular features Howard from 2018's Marvel Spider-Man, which in the end brought my daughter to tears and myself. It was a powerful little mini story that I was glad to share with my daughter. The side missions help you unlock suits, skills, and upgrades for Peter, Miles, and your gadgets. I don't want to give away too much because I truly feel that these side missions are impactful and help with the world building. There is one in particular though with Miles' friend Haley that is unlike anything I've ever played in a video game and honestly can truly bring you into the world of Haley. I highly suggest you try out this side mission. The side missions help flush out every character in the game and help build to the end game. Don't be surprised though if you're completing a mission or stopping a crime and you receive help from a friend out of nowhere. At the beginning of this review I asked, is this the greatest superhero game of all time? And in short, yes. The team over at Insomniac didn't just give us a beat 'em up and then the good guy wins in the game. They gave us a city that felt alive and depth to all the characters we met or played as. And most importantly, they made you feel something for the struggle each character is faced with. It took just under 30 hours to complete, but in the end, I felt like I got my money's worth. I felt satisfied and blown away by how they could pack so much storytelling into a game. The fact they could take a combat system that I thought was perfect and make it even better has me thinking that Insomniac Games is a cheat code for Sony. Marvel Spider-Man 2 is the best game I have played all year, and it gives me goosebumps to think about what Insomniac Games is going to do with Wolverine or where they're going to take the Spider-Man series. I couldn't recommend this game more, and I hope that anybody who enjoys this genre of video game gets a chance to try it. If you liked what you heard, please drop a like and a subscribe. I'm Court Lalonde from 3 Dads and a Console, and this is Marvel Spider-Man 2 in review.